Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy, not the fastest, smartest, or most advanced, but they were the most stubborn and the most honest about what they could become. Admiral James watched from the bridge of the ESS Defiant as the ILB alien armada approached Earth. The Conclave forces had dismissed humanity's warnings for decades. Now they would understand. "They're within range, Admiral," Lieutenant Reed announced, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. James nodded. "Send the final transmission." The message was simple. "We warned you. Remember that." 15 years earlier, humanity had made first contact with the Conclave, a coalition of 23 species that controlled most of the Milky Way. Initially, the aliens had been fascinated by humans, a young species that had developed faster than light travel independently. The fascination became concern when human representatives outlined their history. Unlike the carefully guided evolution of conclave species, humans had emerged from a world of predators and had become apex predators themselves. Their development was marked by war, devastation, and unlikely resilience. "We're dangerous, Earth," Ambassador Thomas had told the Conclave Council during that first meeting. "Not because we want to be, but because we had to be. Aggression is built into our survival instincts. We've learned to control it. But if threatened, well, we warned you what we are." The Conclave had laughed. Many species claimed to be dangerous. All eventually bowed to the overwhelming technological superiority of the collective. Diplomat Urzan of the dominant Talri species had been particularly dismissive. "Touching, but unnecessary. The Conclave brings peace, stability, and protection. Your species will adapt to our harmony." The humans tried to explain that their warnings weren't threats but cautionary advice. They spoke of their capacity for extreme violence when cornered, their history of asymmetric warfare, their cultural glorification of the underdog. "We don't want conflict," Thomas emphasized. "We're telling you this, so you'll understand why certain boundaries must be respected." But the Conclave saw only a primitive species with quaint concerns. They began the standard assimilation process, economic integration that created dependency, cultural enrichment that eroded sovereignty, and gradual technological restrictions masquerading as safety protocols. When Earth resisted the Genetic Standardization Directive, a program that would have eliminated what the Conclave called aggressive tendencies in future human generations, the Conclave responded with a blockade. "They still don't understand," Vice Admiral Ellis said, standing beside James as they watched the first wave of Conclave ships entering Earth's orbit. "Even now, they think this is about forcing compliance." "They never listened," James replied. "We told them we were pack predators. We told them we developed technology to kill before we developed agriculture. We warned them that our first response to existential threats isn't capitulation." The Conclave ultimatum demanded Earth's immediate surrender and implementation of all pending directives. The alternative was orbital bombardment of major cities until compliance was achieved, a tactic that had worked on 17 other species. What the Conclave didn't know was that humans had been preparing since first contact. While appearing to engage in good faith diplomatic relations, Earth's governments had secretly maintained military research programs. When the Conclave finally moved against Earth, humanity was ready. "Launch Operation Masquerade," James ordered. Across the solar system, what appeared to be civilian stations and mining facilities suddenly transformed. Hidden compartments opened, revealing weapon systems. Asteroids shifted, propelled by concealed engines. Defensive matrices activated, creating a web across Earth's orbital paths. Most importantly, the quantum disruptors, technology the Conclave believed impossible for humans to develop, powered up. The Conclave Fleet Commander, Supreme, Director Lauren, received increasingly frantic reports as his ship's systems began failing. Impossible, they're a Tier 3 civilization at most. In the ensuing battle, humanity revealed the full extent of their preparation. While the Conclave had superior numbers, humans had developed countermeasures specifically designed against Conclave technology. "The thing about humans," James commented as the enemy flagship listed helplessly, its propulsion systems neutralized, is that we plan for worst-case scenarios. We've been imagining alien invasion since before we reached space. Within 6 hours, the mighty Conclave Armada was defeated, not destroyed. Humans deliberately avoided unnecessary casualties, but thoroughly incapacitated. Ambassador Thomas personally delivered terms to Supreme Director Lauren aboard the Defiant. The Conclave will recognize Earth and all human colonies as sovereign territory, Thomas stated. There will be no genetic modification programs, no cultural assimilation initiatives, no technology restrictions. You deceived us, Lauren accused, mandibles clicking in agitation. You hid your true capabilities. No, Thomas replied calmly. We explicitly told you what we were. You chose not to believe us. In the aftermath, the galaxy watched in shock as the mighty Conclave signed the Treaty of Luna, recognizing human independence. For the first time in 8,000 years, the Conclave had been defeated. Humanity quickly established itself as a new power, not through conquest but by offering genuine partnerships to other species. Many worlds, particularly those recently subjugated by the Conclave, eagerly allied with humans. 5 years after the Battle of Earth, at the first galactic forum where humans were recognized as equals, Ambassador Thomas addressed representatives from 200 species. Humanity doesn't seek dominance, he said. We never did. We only sought to exist on our own terms. But remember, we warned you what we are. We're the species that evolved facing constant threats. We're the species that turns adversity into advantage. And most importantly, we're the species that means exactly what it says. The universe had realized too late that humanity's warnings weren't bravado. They were the most honest introduction any species had ever given.